Hey guys, in this video we'll talk about the collapse of FTX, Movio platform for merchants, Instagram NFT, Mastodon fluidity trumps Twitter. The bankruptcy of the crypto giant FTX has left customers in limbo and investors writing off what once looked like the next big thing in tech. FTX is a digital currency exchange, a platform where people could buy and sell digital assets like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Ether. FTT is a digital token created by FTX that is similar to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. After Alameda's balance sheet was leaked, a trading firm founded by the same FTX CEO, the price of FTT dropped sharply. As the price dropped, many FTX customers moved to withdraw their assets from the platform. FTX scrambled to process requests for withdrawals, which amounted to an estimated $6 billion over 3 days. FTX eventually filed for bankruptcy and its CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, resigned. Next, over the past year, you have probably seen people showcasing impressive AI-generated artworks thanks to progress in text-to-image algorithms introduced by groups like OpenAI and Stability AI. A proliferation of startups is now trying to devise applications for this new class of language model where the machine is capable of creating new text, images, and videos based on simple human input. Movio, a 2-year-old startup, is leveraging generative AI along with the other machine learning frameworks like GAN to make videos featuring talking human avatars. Companies can use Movio to create promo videos narrated by synthesized humans without the need to hire real models. Lastly, Instagram will start enabling a select number of digital creators to generate and sell non-fungible tokens straight from the social media platform. Creators will now be able to create digital collectibles and sell them on and off of Instagram. Until 2024, Meta will not charge any fees for producing or selling NFTs. Users of Instagram will also be able to connect their Phantom and Solana wallets to display additional types of digital collectibles, such as videos. Creators will be able to show NFTs and make money from them thanks to the new feature. Here's an interesting update for you. As Twitter users fret over the direction that new owner Elon Musk is taking the company, masses of users have hopped over to Mastodon, an open-source Twitter alternative. Mastodon is a non-profit, meaning that ideally its goal is to benefit the public rather than shareholders. Mastodon might look like a Twitter clone at first glance, but the services is decentralized, describing itself as a federated network which operates in a similar way to email. Will Mastodon be the new Twitter for Gen Z? In summary, we explained the FTX collapse. Movio serves as a new platform for AI-generated speech modeling for merchants. Instagram enables selected digital creators to sell NFTs straight from the platform. Mastodon is the new fluid Twitter app that serves emojis and the public. And now presenting this week's podcast. Hi, Jan, and hello, everyone. Welcome to podcast episode 6. How are you doing today, Jan?
Great. As always, looking forward to kicking off our podcast, and we have got some great conversations to get going, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, the crypto market is currently going crazy, right? So what do you think about what went down with FTX?
Well, I think it's just a good old-fashioned story of ambition and greed, and that's as old as time itself, really. So I think it's worth stepping back and saying, let's not just use the word crypto. This could be used to describe so many markets and industries that have grown so quickly and then suddenly implode, and often around heroic and iconic individuals. I do think what stands out is I was just browsing one of my favorite news sources, 9gag, and someone was pointing out that on the Forbes, top 400 most influential individuals, front covers were Elizabeth Holmes from Tyrannos and Mr. Bankman, right? So what does that show? How can these people who are both, Elizabeth Holmes is being currently sentenced and Sam looks like he's going to face a lot of challenges at the very least. How can these individuals become so iconic? And especially in a social media age, it's the hype bubble is ferocious, right? And yet what then happens is that reality always arrives in the end. And so I think one of the things that kind of stands out to me is it's just so collectively easy to be blinded by total bullshit. And that's what really stands out to me, I think, from these examples, right, of Elizabeth Holmes and Sam Bankman. It's just how much it was based upon these individuals, their reputation, and also people wanting to believe in it, right? versus ignoring the actual facts, or maybe the facts are being obscured. So in that sense, I think it's worth noting that we have to be cautious as ever about what truth may be. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Now, it's hard in the case of FTX because they did present themselves as one of the most legitimate crypto enterprises, didn't it? They were the sponsors for the Miami Heat basketball team. The arena sponsors there for the team. It's pretty legitimate, right? If you're kind of sponsoring, in another example, a Premier League football team, you'd think that that was kind of a legitimate institution, or at least one of the more legitimate ones. So I think it also asks questions about where can we find truth and where can we find trust, and that's just an ongoing conversation in Industry 4.0. And I don't really know how to answer that, except to be skeptical. When I see there's so much hype about an individual, in the end we're only human, all too human, as Nietzsche said. And so it's unlikely that these heroic individuals are in fact that heroic. And to make those enormous numbers go up as quickly as they do, it requires something truly extraordinary. Now, we have individuals like maybe someone famous like Elon Musk. We'll get onto him later, won't we? But are these individuals so extraordinary, really? Is it really possible? I don't think so. So I think we kind of are suffering from a collective blindness. But what's important is that the apocalypse is arriving. And apocalypse is derived from the ancient Greek word apocalypsis, which is the end of the world because of divine revelation. So basically, all the illusions are shattered because the real world, the truth shines through, right? And what's noteworthy about FTX is how quickly it went down, right? Within the space of a weekend, 24 to 36, 48 hours, you went from $14 billion to basically worth zero, literally zero, right? I mean, that's just astonishing. That being said, I do think it's healthy for the crypto markets. I think it's very important to go through the adaptive cycle, which is the iterative loop that discusses how ecosystems grow and renew themselves. And what we call journey 4 can be understood as the death phase. And you've got to clean out what is not useful so it can be recycled for new things. And so I think what we're seeing here is a healthy creative destruction of capitalism. Now, of course, that doesn't help those people who've lost money. And that's poor consolation for that. And my sympathies are with those people. Yet, when we step back and ask ourselves, is this the end of crypto? I don't think so. I think it's a healthy and necessary process for this market to mature. I mean, 5 years ago, most of us didn't know what Bitcoin was. And here it is, being front and center of the news. So I think we're seeing maturing in the industry. I think we're seeing something healthy. And I think when we come out of this, the crypto industry and blockchain and all these new world technologies will be the better for it. And I think that will enable us to sort of lay the foundation of going into towards this decade, really, of the 2020s. So I think overall it's a healthy thing to do, but I think it's particularly worth noting how easily we are all blinded. Especially, I think, the social media echo chambers and bubbles, it just kind of bounces off itself. And also the fact that this is probably a healthy thing to happen. Yeah.
But, while yes, I understand where you're coming from by saying it's a healthy thing to happen, but I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and we were talking about how it could be a systemized crash where major investors have sort of planned for this to crash the entire market so that they can, pull down Bitcoin and then again purchase Bitcoin, and then there will be another bull run and they can again make a profit at it. What do you have to say on this?
Well, I will say I don't think I'll ever know the answer to that. But one thing I always try and apply when discussing the crypto markets is it's never any different to what has happened before. So that behavior that describing has been done many times, many parts of the world for a very long time. So probably, maybe in some forces. But that being said, I do think this idea that there is this sort of global elite who are controlling everything. This is sort of that conspiracy theory approach. I do think there's truth out there that is unknown, but I think we just underestimate the power of incompetence and ignorance. And it's hard for someone to control it that precisely for that long. So I think that does play a role sometimes, but I think overall there's just a general limit to the capability of that individual or that organization or indeed that system. And those limits are discovered, and then it breaks, and then we learn what went wrong, and we become better at it. So yes, there's undoubtedly some form of manipulation going on at certain times, but to try and precipitate something as big as that, maybe. I mean, it does look like it was kind of a, there's something strange was going on there, and I guess will we find that out or not? I'm not sure. Well, what do you think, Hannah? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, people have been talking the entire weekend. So it's literally, I don't know what to think anymore. But I would say from my perspective, it does sort of my trust in crypto has sort of shook a bit, because even though everyone is saying now it's a bear market, you got to invest when everything's going down, like ADA is super down, Solana is going to go down as well. I mean, it's already down, right? So now is the time to invest in it, because there will be a sort of hike coming up. But then will it not? How long will it really take to come? I don't know. But seeing first Luna, and then seeing FTX, and then also we are hearing things about crypto.com, where some of their funds also went to Alameda. I don't know, certain things that you're hearing a lot of news coming up, a lot of hype about crypto is not good anymore. So I don't know whether I'm influenced by the hype, but I would say definitely shaken a bit. But on the token side, but not on the technology itself. As we have talked about it last week, I think that blockchain technology itself remains robust, and I think it's something that's going to increase. But not into trading and tokens and stuff, and NFTs and things like that. Probably not for the time being.
Yeah, and I think that's, I've been investing since Bitcoin was $1,000 and Ethereum was at $30, and I still try and learn every day. I can't say it's made me, so I've been reasonably successful, but it's a learning journey around that. And what has struck me is when people are saying invest now, there's not enough fear yet to turn the market cycle around, right? The bear run becomes the bull run, the bull run becomes the bear run. I think that is foundational. I don't think that changes, but sort of if people are expecting it and trying to buy the dip and stuff, the fear hasn't really set in. You need to really, what stands out to me from the true crypto winters is that and certainly I think a lot of the people it was over, right? That was it. It was never going to come back. Maybe in 10 years time, right? But it was truly dead.
When was that?
And so I think that was before the pandemic, really. Like as it was kicking off, right? I think it started to rise in 2019.
I think it's
2019, maybe 2020, right? I think it was around then. So that kind of experience is necessary, because value has to be created. Like I to this day have not used a Bitcoin, right? I haven't actually bought anything with a Bitcoin. I haven't used an Ethereum or all these other things. So we have to be careful not to be too clever, and to understand that this is a much longer journey that's in play. I mean, my worldview for crypto is at least 2025. I looked at 2025, 2030, and I invest in, and the amount of my investment is something where I can just hold that worldview and not look too much at the wobbles that are in there, because I believe in the foundational strategic analysis around it. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm really happy to take that risk. So I think the challenge lies in, it's like that phrase is always darkest before dawn. So I think it's always interesting at night when it's so dark and it's like 4 or 5 p.m. just before the sun comes up, and it can be so, you can think the sun will never come back again, right? And yet it will. So if there's still that optimism there and that your trust has been shaken, I think that's in a sense a part of the recalibration process that needs to take place. But I also don't believe that it's dead. So it will come back to life again.
So earlier when you were talking about we are being blinded by total bullshit about the hype, for example, someone like Elizabeth Holmes becoming iconic, or Bankman, or the Fire Festival guys, things like that, right? So how do you navigate through those bullshit, or how do you identify? I mean, no one I think can identify anyone as such, but how do you keep building your better world, knowing that there's someone out there who's going to come up with a crazy idea and get massive amount of money and get out of it with a trade-free card?
Well, that's a great question. I think, I mean, I'm fortunate to rely on my father's inherent skepticism about everything. And though that has frustrated me many times, he's
I thought
often
you were
been
going to say
right.
inheritance for a minute.
No, my dad's skepticism of trying to persuade him about different things I think are passionately true, right? And so, especially around technology, and he's a skeptic, and I kind of that's helped me learn to not buy anything too much. Like it takes time to create real value, and of course, someone like Elon Musk could be held up, but Elon Musk has kind of walked the talk. He has built PayPal, he has built Tesla, he has built SpaceX. Those are real things that really do things.
I don't think we can categorize Elon Musk in the same one as Bankman, because Elon has been doing the real thing for a very long time. Like he started with PayPal, and then he went on to, what was the next one? Was it Tesla, the next one? I can't remember. But he built value over time, and Tesla now is so huge, and it's things that, and it's something that's really providing value, helping with climate change. I don't think we can put Elon in this category, according to me.
Well, yeah, we can and we can't, right? We can in the sense that there's a hype train, right? So there, right? But I think the difference then where we would differentiate it is in the delivery, right? And so to answer your question, I think it's just about being able to step back from today. We live in such a reactive age, right? We can call it the TikTok age, right? Where everything has to be instant and now, and oh my God, it's so hyped and everything is. You can see a lot in the language around the videos on YouTube. This is insane. This is amazing, right? It's all this now gratification kind of idea. And 6 months is a long time, and all this kind of refusal to recognize that things just do take time. And so we want it now. And because we want it, that we will feed ourselves. I mean, in many ways, Sam Bankman-Friedman and Elizabeth Holmes are mirrors of society. They get to where they are because, so they are what they are, but they're also there because we put them there as a society, right? As investors, as consumers, whatever it might be. So I think going back to your question, it's just that idea that trust takes a long time to earn. It takes a long time to earn trust and to build that, and it has to be built on real deliverables. Now, that could be said about Elizabeth Holmes. She built that up over time, and Sam Bankman as well with FTX. So maybe it depends on your trust window, right? Is 5 years, 10 years? Really doubling down on that, I think, is a useful way to see things. Now, what are we advocating for? Because we're leadapreneurs, right? We want to build that better world. We want to go forth and do that. And the faster the better. But I think it's dangerous to try and climb S curve so quickly. When I see people, it's a very sort of kind of I would say almost an Anglo idea, like American and British, that you have to basically blitz scale. You get as much money as you can, you pump it in, you scale enormously quickly. You go from 0 to 1 billion in 18 months. Everyone's a unicorn. And that's from my understanding of system science and how systems grow, that's not how it works. If you kind of did that with trees or animals or humans, right? It doesn't take 9 months to make a baby. It only takes 9 weeks. No, it takes 9 months, and 9 months is already a really extreme growth curve, and that's pretty good. And so if someone's telling me they could make babies in 9 weeks, I just something is a price is being paid for that. Time has a certain eternal quality to it that just can't be short-circuited, I think, or it can be, but only with very thoughtful approaches. And so I think it's useful for us to check into our greed and to not get too bought into these things. And that's part of the ethical challenge, really, isn't it? Of being able to draw boundaries around something and saying, okay, that's enough. I think we're trying to achieve too much here. Because that's what's dangerous about crypto. You see those major returns and you're like, I'll just double down and invest everything I have so I can make double my money, right? And then double that. And then one day it all comes calling. So, I mean, it's also really helpful to just sometimes think that I apply this a lot to myself. What if I'm just a total idiot? What if I've just got this completely wrong? Because that's always a very interesting approach. I mean, it's brutal, right? And your ego has to kind of be able to handle that. But in a lot of the times when we make sense of situations, we rely on initial analyses and trust, right? Oh yeah, FTX, is established, but maybe there's some wobbles around it. Well, what if you were just completely wrong about it? What if you were completely wrong about Elizabeth Holmes? I think that ability to just step back and at least consider that possibility seriously can be very, very helpful, because what stood out to me a lot is that a lot of success is just not dying, not making really big mistakes. And those often happen because we just make simple beliefs, right? Just believing that FTX is a credible crypto transaction platform, right? And so having that ability to challenge that and then the difficult is not just to challenge it, but then maybe act on it, right? And to pay attention to these things. So there's no easy answer there, but I think there can be a certain mind that can be built that can help with dealing with those difficult situations.
Okay, but also I wanted to highlight I mean, I've also been taking the names of Elizabeth and Beckman, and you've also been taking the names, but also I think somewhere it's not just them alone as one person. I think it's when you were talking about, did you totally get this wrong? Let's just say for Leadapreneur, did you totally get this wrong? But I don't think we can one day say, oh, Jan Borch was the con man out there, because I think it's an entity. You have a lot of people around you who's trusting you, who's also helping you build something. And I think Bankman had a group as well. And so did Elizabeth when I watched her documentary. So yeah, I think it's not just one person. I think it's a group of organization for that matter, coming together and believing in some reality and then the opposite happening. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic, which we have about Twitter. So crazy things again has been happening on that side. And what we've discovered is people have been hopping onto Mastodon, which is an open source Twitter alternative. What do you have to say about that?
I think that Musk is trying to do something important whilst also having some fun along the way. And if I was the richest, if not one of the richest men in the world, I'd probably do the same thing, because on the one hand, you do want to serve humanity and try and help. And I do think he's sincere in his efforts to build a town square for humanity, I believe he calls it. But also recognizing that the hubris in that, and that maybe it's just people not ready for it, or maybe he can't get it right. So just have a laugh along the way and enjoy the ride. So I support him in his efforts, because I think I understand what he's trying to do. It's a global sense-making system. It's an ability to engage in truthful dialogue. And if he can crack that, then I think that will be extremely powerful. Now, I think what's been particularly surprising to me was, and I'm only saying this from a distance, I'm only saying this from what I've read about the reports, as much as anybody else. So, but the culture there and the way in which the sort of, what was sort of seen as trying to encourage free speech, but actually I think could be labeled under the suppression of free speech, under the auspices of we just want to have safety and equality for everybody. It sort of doesn't strike me as very positive for Twitter either. I don't think that the culture that was there at Twitter was a healthy, positive one, in the sense of serving humanity for truth, right? And it seems like there are a lot of power structures there. People having to reportedly pay behind the scenes to get their blue ticks and all kinds of other shenanigans. It kind of reminds me of this sort of it's like the opposite of the autocratic state. It's like the ultimate nanny state, where it's like a benevolent mother who seems really nice but actually doesn't let you do anything as long as she doesn't control it, right? It's sort of this feigned benevolence, and it's not really interested in true dialogue that challenges. Now, of course, you want to tackle hate speech, you want to tackle all these things, but where do you draw the line? And in what sense, what does tackling really mean? I mean, I don't know the answers to these questions, so I'm just like elaborating it out loud. But is it really sensible to drive people off the platform so that they have to go somewhere else? If people have strongly different views, is that wrong? Are we all meant to have the same views? Are we all meant to have a sort of a liberal or a Republican or a conservative or whatever it might be? I think there's just something missing in terms of encouraging humans to be able to be together, to share their differences and not destroy each other at the same time. And I think that's really where we've missed the point, is to build a collective space to come together to share, and everyone has a right to share their voice. I think that's important. And I guess what has been surprising as well as that is what seems to be the use of bots to reinforce voice. So I think that's a particularly difficult thing to address. How do you know that that person is a human, right? Because if you have someone who seems like a popular person, but out of their 2 million followers, 90% of them are just bots, well, is that really I don't think they have that credibility there. So I think we want to, there's an opportunity here. And look, maybe in like 100, 200 years time or 50 years time, whenever, we will have this. So I think it's very early days. And one of the things that stood out in my mind at the moment is sort of thinking about digitalization. It's a bit like Industry 2.0's electrification, right? I said that before, but it's not so much that you get electricity, it's how you use the electricity once you have it. So it's not about digitalizing, it's what you do once you've digitalized. And so I think what we are seeing is this sort of foundational infrastructure for a new way in which humanity engages with itself, and Twitter could be that. So I can see what Musk is trying to do, and I personally support him, and I think why not go for it. And you know, I just hope he has some fun along the way. Yeah.
Trying to think what should I reply to this, but can't think of anything else. I'm not really in that space for me to understand what
would you
he's
say
really
to him?
trying to do.
Say you got to meet Mr. Musk right now. You can say, hey, what would you say?
I would tell him he's a human genius in terms of what he's done with Tesla and SpaceX, and is the other one is Starlink, right? The internet one. Yeah, I think those three amazing products, and even PayPal for that matter, right? If there was no PayPal, then all the other fintechs that came along wouldn't be there today. And I think he is truly a human genius in our age today. And Albert Einstein equivalent, if I say so. But what is he trying to do with Twitter? I don't know. And I think people are taking it, hyping it way too much. Like, you know, he's firing, he's hiring. I mean, whatever he does, it's his company at the end of the day. What does that have to do with us? And also when I saw people talking about, executives are getting fired and they're losing their jobs, and it's so much of hype, and Elon sent this very blunt email, and when I read that email, it was very nice. I mean, to me, it was nicely written, where he's talking about severance package, he's talking about benefits and all, and I'm like, okay, that sort of sounds like a good deal, because shit happens, CEO changes, you change your company, and things happen like that. But it's not like you're getting kicked off somewhere, or, you know, you're not, I don't know, but I think people are making too much out of it, and he did buy it. It's his at the end of the day. We can't do much. So yeah.
Well, I think that's part of the hysteria of the modern day age, right? It's all this like
The
venting
TikTok
online.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I just like, I know this is a shocking thing to say, but life does not happen on Twitter. And I think there's just a lot of bored people who haven't got anything better to do than just sit on social media. And it feels effective and productive because you get those dopamine hits and you're getting responses and likes. And oh my God, my tweet got 10,000 shares and 100,000 likes. And then you think that's important. It's not. It's not important. It's just really not important. And I think that we have to come to some collective realization around that if we are to stand in maturity. Now, it doesn't mean to say that those aren't useful things, and they are important to some people some of the time. Yes, but I think there's just this become this sort of over entitlement and over empowerment through social media, and you can notice this because it has an inability to focus on things, right? It will focus on one thing for a day or a week, and then the next week or month is gone, as if it didn't matter, right? It's just like an ADD, right? It is kind of running around trying to find the next thing to focus on, but not really able to be consistent in it. And I find that sort of, it's very ephemeral. And
yeah,
in doing so,
if you see the news right now, you won't see Elon appearing anywhere. It's all about I think currently it's about crypto, and other things I'm seeing is the election, I think. Yeah, so you're not really seeing Elon anymore. It was a bit of a last week scenario. But yeah, you're right.
I think he's like Trump-esque in his ability to work with the media to make it work for him, right? I think he's generating a lot of noise, and people are talking more about Twitter and engaging with it than they ever have. So, or at least for some time, right? But yeah, I think this is such an important point to realize, is that life just doesn't happen on social media. It really doesn't. It's like thinking that the only way you can date someone is by jumping on Tinder. It's just not true, right? It's helpful, it's useful. You can get into this kind of collective. Maybe I have some more experience than you around that,
but definitely, yeah. Let the expert talk.
But yeah, I can share that, you know, and it's true, and like life just happens out in reality itself, and it's about stepping out into the world and participating in it. And yeah, there's a few tweets and social media stuff, and I think that's also what we're seeing in the part of the decline currently in the valuations of the tech companies, and everyone thought this massive wave of digitalization was going to take off after the pandemic, and we're going into the digital future, hashtag metaverse, hashtag Web3, whatever those things even mean. But it turns out people are not.
Those are our hashtag to each video, by the way.
Yeah, great, perfect. Right. And so yeah, so I think there's a kind of it's like, okay, that was fun. Let's just get back to our lives and doing what we actually enjoy, and good for people for doing that. Yeah.
So well said, yeah. So on this note, I would like to tell everyone as a reminder, believe in yourself, be brave, be bold, be brilliant, and build your better world. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Leadapreneurs YouTube channel to get your weekly updates.